Welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast on the Salescast Network. You've joined a global movement of sales professionals who are dedicated to being authentic and building trust. We call it Selling from the Heart. Together, we are on a mission to bring sincerity and substance to the sales profession we all love. Get ready to be inspired and equipped as we join our hosts, Larry Levine and Darrell Amy.
Hey there, it's Larry, and I'm thrilled to share something incredibly close to my heart. My latest book, Selling in a Post-Trust World, is now available. In today's landscape where trust is harder to come by than ever, I've poured my years of experience into these pages to guide you through connecting genuinely and building lasting relationships with your customers. This book is more than just strategies. It's about transforming the way you sell by being authentic, real, and trustworthy in every interaction. It's for those who believe that integrity and sales can go hand in hand, and for anyone looking to not just meet their quotas, but to truly make a difference in their customers' lives. If you're ready to elevate your sales game and navigate the complexities of selling in a world where skepticism is the norm, Selling in a Post-Trust World is your must-read guide. And here's the best part. Even though it won't hit the bookstores until this summer, you can get your hands on an advanced reader's copy right now. Just head over to sellinginaposttrustworld.com or click the link in the show notes, and let's embark on this journey together towards more meaningful, trust-based selling.
Hello, and welcome back to the Selling from the Heart podcast. Your co-host, Darrell Amy, here today with Larry Levine. What's going on, Larry?
We got all kinds of things going on. It's another great day here on the Selling from the Heart podcast. Super great to see you, by the way.
It's great to see you as well. And for everybody listening in or watching, we're so glad you're here. We've got an incredible, challenging, and interesting conversation I think is going to really inform you in some areas maybe you haven't thought of before with our friend Adrian Chenault. Can't wait to introduce that. But I'll tell you what's fun, Larry, is I'm seeing all over the place people holding up their copies. I need to get mine right here. Look at this.
There you go.
Selling in a
I
Post-Trust
like
World.
that
Cat's out of the bag right now, and it's so fun watching everybody with their advanced readers editions getting a hold of the book. And we've done something that you're not really supposed to do in the publishing world. We're actually pre-selling advanced reader editions. You can get your hands on the book right now, even though it doesn't release in bookstores until August. And I love the feedback that's coming back as people start reading this book.
No, it's so cool. It's so cool to see the pictures. I got to give a special shout out, Darrell, to Rich Falar. I just absolutely love Rich Falar. So just to give you an idea, when you do order your advanced reader's copy, I just ask that you post a selfie holding holding the book up and all that. Well, just like Darrell's doing, but Rich Falar went one step farther. He didn't put his face next to the book. He just put a couple slices of pizza next to the book in a pizza parlor. Rich, you're a great guy. Thank you. That was great.
Hey, it pairs well with pizza. It'll help you sell more, and all of it is great. Just go to sellinginaposttrustworld.com and get your autographed advanced readers edition of this dynamic new book. It's really going to help you out. And that's one of the things I love that we're hearing back already is people are starting to read this book going, this is exactly what I needed right now for this season. So thank you, Larry, for writing the book. Thank you, everybody, for grabbing a book and sharing it on social. Sellinginaposttrustworld.com. Well, we've got a great guest today that is a friend to Selling from the Heart. We're excited to welcome Adrian Chenault back to the podcast. He's a visionary in the integration of AI with sales strategies. At NowSight, Adrian is leading the way in helping sales reps excel on social media by creating authentic personal brands that not only engage, but also deliver results. His work involves empowering sales professionals with advanced AI tools that simplify and enhance their online interactions, ensuring their personal brand resonates with their audience and drives sales. Adrian, welcome back to Selling from the Heart. It's great to have you here.
Hey, guys. It's great to be back. Good to see you.
Oh, it's always great to see Adrian.
This is so exciting, and I timed it perfectly. I'm so happy. I get to be the first podcast guest to get to hold up my very own
look at that.
Adrian
copy on the podcast. Check me out. I'm so excited. So congratulations on the new book. I cannot wait to dive in. I was so happy when it came at the end of last week.
Super cool. And that is a great honor, Adrian. We're so glad you're here. And these are always fun conversations. And our friends know that Adrian is a true friend of Selling from the Heart. So you've answered this before, but I can't wait to hear what your answer is today to the question every guest in the podcast answers. And that is, Adrian, what does it mean to you to sell from the heart?
I love this whole premise. I love this question. And, for me, I think it's more important than ever and more fun than ever to use this framework, selling from the heart, to just get curious about the person who you're engaging with, and really the entire organization that you're engaging with when you are in that sales process. I think that so often we reduce sales to a process. And of course, you need a process when you're selling, but the good stuff so often comes out of asking the right questions and really digging into the people dynamics and just the human beings that are on the other side of that sales process. And when you do that, you're going to close more sales. But I think it's so much fun because it really becomes this rewarding piece where you end up learning and connecting with people on far more than just the product. It becomes this real exchange from human to human where you're building a relationship. So that's what it means to me. And that's what I love the most.
Oh, hey, Adrian, this is so good. And I've always said this, and I'd just be curious your thoughts on this. I know we're going to dive into a great conversation, is I just wish more salespeople would let the conversation go where the conversation goes.
Yeah.
Amazing things start to happen when you shine the light on the other person and you lean in and just start being curious. But when you just and it's all too often that light's always been shining on salespeople, but when you just flip it, light on them, get real curious, ask really great questions, and just sit back and listen. Just let it go where it goes. Watch what happens.
I totally agree. My sister is like a huge, super successful enterprise software sales leader, and the last week, actually, I've never had to be the sales lead on an RFP before. And one of the things that I do for Nowside is I'm the VP of business development, and a big company who we want to do business with is putting out an RFP. And so I called my sister and I was like, hey, I've never had to deal with one of these before. This is a spreadsheet with a lot of really boring questions in it. What do I do? And she goes, here's the thing. Trust me, they don't want to be doing an RFP either. Everyone hates RFPs. So spend as little time as possible asking about the RFP and see if you can figure out why they're even doing it and kind of what's going on, and get to know the person, because you'll find out what's really behind it. And the spreadsheet will never tell you that. And so I got on this call and I'm asking this really nice girl all these questions and getting to know her. And she's like, yeah, look, we don't really want to be doing it was we don't really want to do this RFP. We, somebody's boss's boss said we need to do this. We're kind of checking the box. And I was like, okay, well, what's really important? And she's like, this and this and this and this stuff that our product does way better than anything that even came out in the RFP. And I go, of course, we'd love to be part of the RFP, but maybe we should just get you and your boss and our CEO on a call next week. And maybe we could just show you a demo, because there's a million things we could do for you that aren't even in this RFP. And she's like, yes, that's what I would like to do. And so literally, I think we might just completely circumvent this entire RFP because it's relationship and it was getting to know somebody.
Yeah.
And how much more fun is that, as well as more effective?
Wow. What a great story. And this is the power of a relationship inside the sales process. I think that many people listening in need to take that part of the podcast, just play it over and over and over again and go, there's more than just this RFP involved. I love that approach. Adrian, you've been a pioneer in artificial intelligence inside from the perspective of a very highly relational person. And I know for a lot of our listeners, when you think about AI and you think about relational selling, those two don't usually end up in the same sentence unless the AI is generating an article for you about relational selling. So I'm really curious, for our listeners, and the Selling from the Heart community, highly relational, highly tuned into people to people inside business. Where do you see the intersection between AI and selling from
here? I want to maybe make a hypothesis about at least some part of your audience that I would imagine there's some that are in this world of relationship-based, heart-based selling that are thinking this way. And I want you to think back, regardless of whether you were in sales at the time, regardless of how old you were at the time, either imagine yourself or just kind of imagine the kind of what happened when the internet really came along and people began to leverage the internet as a way to sell. At that time, obviously, there were a lot of salespeople whose bread and butter had been, getting face to face with a client all the time. That was their thing. They were great on the phone. They were great at all these things. And all of a sudden, here comes this new tool, whether it's the internet, whether it's social media, that, the next generation of sellers are embracing. And I, as someone who has historically taken great pride in my ability to, build that relationship belly to belly, get in front of that customer, all that sort of thing, that this is not for me. This is not the way that I do business. And I think that you have to understand that when something as profound as the internet, when something as profound as social media, when something as profound as AI comes along, you bury your head in the sand at your own peril, right? Like you cannot afford to ignore the internet. You can't afford to ignore social media. You cannot afford to ignore AI. And I think AI might be the biggest of those three. I truly, truly do. I think this is a generational shift in the world. So you can't ignore it. That's one end of the spectrum. Now, the other end of the spectrum is maybe you're like me and you have noticed every Tom, Dick, and Harry on LinkedIn just
talking about AI,
right? And or spewing like the most inane crap ever with 5,000 adverbs and adjectives on every post. And you're just like, if this is what the world is coming to, I would like to retire right now. Right?
So, but here's the interesting thing is where do we bring in AI into the mix so that somebody doesn't erode trust, that could still build relationships and that can still bring their natural human voice to the table? How do we blend all of this together?
Right.
Without sacrificing all this? Because there's a lot of noise. There is a ton of noise about AI right now.
Yeah.
But we all know it's so funny now because the hottest trend was that comment AI generated or was that a real comment? You get what I'm saying?
Totally. And so here's what I would say. Right. You as a seller, it's coming from your LinkedIn account. It's coming from your Facebook account. It's coming from whatever. The last thing on earth you ever want to have happen is to erode the trust that you worked so hard to create in people by them going, oh, well, Larry has left the building. It's Larry, it's just some stupid chat GPT thing that he's posting, and it's probably his virtual assistant. It's probably just a bot. It's probably just whatever. And Larry is nowhere to be found. People want to connect with you. They want to receive you. So you don't want to do that. Instead, what you want to do instead is you want to use AI, but your eyes need to be across this stuff, right? Your eyes need to be ultimately the one, like it needs to ultimately be that I stand by that this was from me, even if I used AI to help me to write it. And so the way I think about it, right, is just like if I start typing on Google and Google begins to auto-populate my search query, right? That's another form of AI, right? And maybe you've done this before. Maybe you've done this for your own company. Maybe you've done this as a buying cycle decision, right? I type the name of the company versus, and I see what Google comes up with so that I can find the other companies that I should be considering in my sales process, right? Google helped me to do that, but that was my intent. And so what I think is the correct way to use AI is you still have your own voice. You still have your own point of view. You still understand what's right to do. Let AI do the groundwork of writing what, 90% of the comments that I'm going to write on LinkedIn are, 80% of the thought, it's just autopilot, right? It's just me, my fingers typing out kind of a structure of the type of comment that I would leave on a certain type of post. And it's 20% me kind of customizing that to the specifics of that post. I have no problem with AI taking a lot of the time that I need to use to make that happen away from me, but I'm still going to make sure that comment sounds right? Because the last thing I want to do is say something really, really stupid because AI doesn't know that I also know the second person referenced in that post or whatever, and it's posting like I've never met that person, right? Like those are nightmare scenarios. You can't let that happen, but you do need to be using this tool as a salesperson, in my opinion.
I think it's interesting if you rewind the tape back to, let's say, back when Larry started selling, when there was
here we go.
Fax machines and beepers.
It was the paper press, wasn't it?
It was. Hey,
Adrian. I love you, Adrian. You gotta stay on my bandwagon, dude. You can't hop on Darrell Amy's bandwagon.
Wait a second, Larry. No, you mean to tell me you didn't have to say press copy press hard, the fourth copy is yours. You did.
No, I did.
But I'm just, it's funny when you look back at and I'm love to poke fun at Larry, but I mean, you look back before the advent of the computer itself. I mean, the reality was, most executives and many salespeople had personal assistants. They had people that were working behind the scenes to help them out. And, at Selling from the Heart, one of our sponsors and good friends is Work Better Now. We advocate for high performance salespeople to have personal assistants. And so I think, when you look at artificial intelligence, what I think you've got is the potential to have a digital assistant that is coming in and is helping you do that. And I think there's no way around that. This is a reality, the world that we live in. We've got to figure out a way to make these digital assistants, these personal assistants, communicate with the same level of authenticity and voice that we would communicate with ourselves, or our assistant would communicate with somebody. And this is a challenge for all of us to figure out right now in this season. So where do you start as a sales professional that's listening in? And we know everyone listening in, you've dabbled with Chat GPT. We know you've been there and done that. Maybe you're using it. Where do you get started in terms of bringing your authentic voice into artificial intelligence and this whole world that's unrolling before us?
Yeah, look, I think it's really, I think there's two things that are really important. One is you've got to set the context of who you are and what you're about with your AI, right? And so our company we think deeply, we think constantly about this, right? So the two things, right? It's got to understand who you are, what you're about, what you sound like. The more sort of context that you can bring to bear into that situation, the better. And then secondly, it's got to contextually understand the job to be done in whatever situation that is, whether it's writing a comment, whether it's writing an email. And again, it's like an input-output equation, right? Like the more effective you can apply your inputs, the better the output is that you're going to get out of that. But having those things is what's going to keep you from having this kind of generic sounding content, whether it's an email, whether it's a comment, whether it's a social post, whatever it may be. That's what's going to keep you out of that trap of having this stuff that people just instantly recognize as AI. So how does this thing understand your voice? How does it understand your point of view? How do you help it to do that? And I appreciate that those things are like, you either need the right tool that's built specifically for that purpose, or there's quite a bit of expertise that goes into that, right? You can't just pop open a chat GPT window and instantly know how to do this stuff. Like there is a skill set required there. And either you've got to say, I want to invest the time to master that skill set, or you need to find the right tools that are built to kind of short circuit that learning curve for you.
So I got a question for you, and this is fascinating stuff, because I will be the one, I'm going to admit it, that I'm on the other side of AI going, right? How are we going to use this without sacrificing who we really are and so forth? So the reason why I bring this up is there's going to be, and I'm just going to play this out, there's going to be some Debbie doubters out there, Adrian. They're going to say, you know what? This doesn't apply to the sales channel that I'm in.
Yeah.
And they're going to find, obviously, the excuses. Speak to those salespeople that obviously are in these highly relational sales channels. They're going to go, you know what? How does this even affect what I do? How does this even integrate? By the way, I may not even know how to spell artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah. So here are some of the things that I would.
If you just use like the abbreviation, Larry, it's pretty simple. You just A and I. You've got this. You can do this.
I know this. I know it, but I'm throwing it out there because it's real. This is what people are really thinking. I know there's people that are thinking like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go to the most relational possible sales scenario, right? Here, this is a day that is coming very soon. And it's a day that I could not be more excited for, right? So Larry and I, we built up this long relationship, right? I've known Larry for years. We've been building this relationship, and I know about, Larry's told me about his wife and his kids and his grandkids and the boat he dreamed, this very specific boat he dreams of having, and how Shohei Ohtani invited him over to his house, and all these sort of things about Larry that make Larry tick uniquely, right? But I'm a salesperson, and I'm maintaining a lot of those relationships. And as good as I am, it gets harder and harder to exactly remember the kid's name and what was the last thing we talked about and all that kind of stuff. And so I built some systems around that. Maybe I have an assistant, whatever it is. But what if every time that I reached out to Larry, I had an AI assistant that says, hey, based on the last few conversations you've had with Larry, you should probably ask him about this, this, or this. And I don't even have to go in and check my mental logs. I don't have to do any of that, because it is actually bringing together all of the things that I know about Larry in a way that's far more powerful than what my limited mental capacity could do myself. And then what if it also said, hey, Larry told you about that new, he's doing something innovative in the space of launching this new book. And remember, you met that guy 6 months ago who is like the Amazon whisperer and does better Amazon launches than anyone. You should probably introduce Larry to that person. And I would never have thought to make that connection if it weren't for this AI that is able to hold all of this context in a way that is just way greater than my mental capacity. So these are the things where, like, we're in the first inning of what AI is going to be able to do, because we haven't even conceived of how, like, all of the new use cases of how this tool that just is able to master so much more information can be used in really beautiful, powerful ways. And so my suggestion is to keep leaning into that, because I think it's going to massively enhance the people who care a lot about that thoughtfulness, their ability to do that at truly at scale.
I think that what you're talking about there is incredibly
huge.
powerful. And this is the struggle of being in sales, is we have a lot of relationships to maintain. And there's those among us who like to think about ideas and really, really struggle with these details. Little confession. Recently, I've been obsessed with the replay of Madam Secretary, which is the show. It's on Netflix. It's about the Secretary of State, and so it's got all kinds of political and geopolitical intrigue. I really like it. But what I've noticed is, first of all, being the Secretary of State is a hard job. There's a lot of things to know, and there's no way one person could know that. The Secretary of State has an entire staff of people all around. In this case, her, and it is people that are talking points, briefs. Hey, you're just getting ready to meet with this person. Here's what you need to have top of mind. Speeches. There's a speech writer. There's all of these things around a high performance professional like that. And you got to think that as a sales professional who is, the ultimate diplomat between the company and between all these customers out there with varying needs, that having something behind the scenes to prep you as you walk into a meeting. And we've been using Google, right? We do the quick Google search in the car before we go in the meeting or the night before if we're preparing. I'm beginning to see, the incredible potential to have an assistant behind the scenes, a digital assistant going, hey, Larry, you're about to meet with Adrian. Here's what you need to remember. And that right there, that has the potential to be a real game changer when it comes to relational selling. Because Adrian, I forget this stuff and I do my best to write it down. And we've used contact mapping and all these great tools previously, but someone to actually read through it and bring all of that stuff to the surface at the right moment, that sounds like a dream for a sales professional.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, there's just how much easier would your life be if you could have not just what's based on the public internet, but your personal notes to have this AI review all of that and give you exactly what you need to remember walking into that conversation.
That's exciting.
So I'm sold. You guys already sold me. You guys already sold me on this. So, no, but
sign them up.
I still want to go back to this. So just what are some quick things, Adrian, that a salesperson could start if it's not on the radar screen yet, but what are the 2 or 3 things that they could start bringing to the forefront that says, okay, over the next 30 days, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z as it relates to me getting up to speed with AI? What are some just simple things a novice can do around this?
Yeah. So I'm going to share a couple of tools that your audience may not have heard of before that I think are really cool kind of entry point use cases into experiencing AI, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So there's there's a next generation search engine called Perplexity. So you can sign up for Perplexity get it as an app on your phone, and you can say, hey, what give me the rundown of what happened in the NBA playoffs over the weekend. And so this thing is going to search the live internet as well as historical stuff. It can give you real-time information and it can summarize across multiple sources. It is I'm still I think we all have a Google habit, right? So I still, my first place I go is Google. But if there's any complexity, I'm a huge sports geek, right? So this is one of the examples I love, right? I thought I heard it say on the NBA over the weekend that the 76ers had never played the Knicks in the playoffs. And I was like, that can't be right. But if I went and searched that on Google, I'd have to go through a lot of pages or whatever to find the answer to that. I go on Perplexity and it's instantly oh no, they faced each other 7 times. The last time was this time. And it's just you're talking to the world's smartest person. It is so cool. So wow. Use that to learn about a target company, right? And instead of having to read through a bunch of repetitive information and a bunch of different Google searches, this thing is able to assimilate and process through all of that and give you kind of a single point of view on whatever it is. So Perplexity is amazing, such a valuable tool for the seller to be able to kind of process through a bunch of information in a short amount of time. And then the other thing that I would say is that you really want to utilize AI in a meaningful way, but it's about building in your own voice. And that's really, so the company that I'm a part of is NowSight. That's an example of a company that does that. You can certainly go and check. There's a lot of companies, this is a huge thing, right? So there's other companies out there that are trying to do this, but what we look to do is we're helping you to create an AI version of you, an AI version of your voice, and to be able to connect that to whatever it is that you're doing. And one of the things that has come out recently that's really, really cool is AI can now not just process language, but it can process images. And so you can now literally post a selfie or post a picture of something, and AI can understand what's happening in that. And then we've created the ability for you to create a post from that, right? So I could take a screenshot of our being on this podcast together, which maybe I'll do right now, and we'll, get it.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
So I can I can literally take that screenshot. I can share that through our system, and it will create the post being like, I had a great time. I don't need to say it was with Larry and Darrell because your names are on the screen. It's going to say I had a great time with Larry and Darrell on, and on Selling from the Heart today. And it will write this entire post just based on the context of what is there.
Wow.
And so, what's the number one thing that salespeople struggle with, right? It's time, enough time to do all the things that we need to do, and showing up, creating on social media is a part of that. And how easy is it for it to just be the thing that I forget to do, or I don't get around to doing for weeks at a time? If you can bring these tools to bear on helping you to just, take this little thing that I did during the day and turn that into a piece of content without me needing to do much of anything other than just have that momentary spark of inspiration. Like, these are the things where suddenly your potential clients are seeing so much more of you, and that helps you to stay top of mind.
I love it.
Yeah.
Adrian, what a fascinating conversation. It always is, but this stuff is super cool. And I know everyone listening in is thinking to themselves, how do I get more Adrian Chenault in my life?
Yeah. I get that all the time. Look, I would love to connect with your audience. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I'm active on Facebook. So please come find me on social media. I would love to continue the conversation. And I love what you guys are doing. I'm so excited you better put me on the official book launch team.
You are.
All right.
You are.
Good.
Super cool.
Thank you by the way, Adrian, thank you for all your support over the years. We're just grateful that you're in our community. We appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Feel the same.
Yeah. And thanks for the work you're doing to humanize AI in the sales profession. This is super cool. I have a feeling we're going to be talking about this again in the near future. Adrian, thanks for sharing time. Wonderful, wonderful conversation. So appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Wow, Larry. What an interesting conversation today.
It was, and where I started to think where Adrian was going with, all the being able to take notes from everyone, right? So I'm just thinking back to all the conversations I have. Boy, if I could start using some of this in a different way, it's hard to remember all this stuff, and you can only put so much into a CRM.
That's right.
If there was a fast, easy, efficient way to do all of this, now I'm looking at this through a whole different lens on the use of AI.
See, we knew this was going to happen today.
I know. Darrell, you and Adrian ganged up on me before this to say, okay, this is how we're going to convince Larry to do all this stuff.
Well, here we are. We're pushing the envelope here at Selling from the Heart because we sell in a post-trust world. Here we go. Hey, make sure to grab your copy. And thank you to everybody who is sharing this on social. Some of you are even buying multiple copies for your team. And there's actually some really cool bonuses on the website for multiple. If you buy a whole bunch of these, there's cool stuff that happens. We actually have some cool announcements coming soon around the official launch of this book in bookstores later on in the summer. So stay tuned. But first, go to sellinginapostttrustworld.com and grab your author's pre-release edition. Super, super excited. Larry, we've got a hot summer ahead, and maybe hot on temperature, but it's going to be hot on the Selling from the Heart podcast, because I've seen the list of guests that's scheduled.
Oh, yeah.
You want to make sure to like or subscribe. We're committed to bringing you fresh ideas to help you sell with authenticity and to build trust.
No, absolutely. And what a ride this has been. Each and every guest brings their own unique voice, but they bring new ideas. And that's what we're all about, is bringing authenticity to the forefront, building trust, and building this movement here that we call Selling from the Heart.
Yeah. So thank you to everybody who's liking and subscribing. And most of all, thank you to those of you who are leaving a review. It helps us spread the word on this movement of authenticity right here in this sales profession we all love. Till next time, keep being genuine, keep being authentic, keep building trust, find new ways to use AI in an authentic way. And most of all,
Sell from the heart.